Coming up on this episode of Open for Business, marketing missteps that could be fatal. Another search engine, this time from Facebook. CBS no longer a Tiffany of journalism, and entrepreneurs, anypreneurs, why be one? All that and more next on episode 64 of Open for Business.
This is the Hartford Online Radio Network. 21st Century Audio. Delivered. OnTheHORN.com.
Bandwidth for On the Horn is provided by Amazon S3 servers. Amazon S3 is storage over the internet. You can retrieve any amount of data at any time from anywhere on the web. Highly scalable, reliable, secure, fast, and inexpensive. All from a name you trust, Amazon. For more information about Amazon S3 storage, visit aws.amazon.com. Hi, everybody. I'm Brian Parker. I'm joined today by Tommy Russo, co-owner of L&R Productions, who doesn't know what show number this is. Full-service advertising agency, audio-video production house, lnrproductions.com. Hello, Tom.
Hey, Brian, how are you this evening?
Just lovely. Just love you keeping warm in the really cold weather.
I'm doing my darndest.
It's freezing up here.
It is.
Ken Cook is also joining us, acclaimed author, speaker, Fortune 500 consultant, and contributor to Inc. magazine, now running Peer-to-Peer Advisors. Check him out at peer-to-peer-advisors.com. Do you have a Twitter address yet for Peer-to-Peer Advisors?
I do not. How are you?
I'm good. I'm thinking that would be a
Change
cool
the
thing.
subject quick. Transition, baby.
I'm thinking that might be
left.
cool. Come on, peer-to-peer. Twitter is all about connecting. That might be interesting for you.
Need to think about that one.
All right. Well, it's good to have you all here. We are Open for Business, the podcast that explores all things business, entrepreneurship, technology, marketing, customer service, and making a few bucks for yourself. The idea, the overall premise is how to get new clients and keep old ones or customers. Do you like clients or customers, or are they really different terms? What do you guys think?
I think depending on the nature of the business.
Yeah.
Clients on B2B, customers on consumer.
Oh, interesting. Because you like accounting firms have clients.
Yes.
They don't have customers.
Correct.
But really, it's such a commodity almost now.
Accounting?
Yeah.
Taxes.
Tax filing, I guess, is really what I'm getting at.
Yeah, that's a commodity.
Returns are a commodity.
Yes. Starting to think about that ugly thing.
Boy, me too. Year end.
Hate it.
Me too.
That brings up another point there. We're going to an all-cash business here at On the Horn. Advertising for dollars.
We're going to appeal to our 6 loyal listeners and do a show on how to turn every business into an all-cash business.
You know what? That would be
cool.
That would be a good show. That might be a good blog post.
That would be fun.
But speaking of the show, we have to entertain those far more than 6 people.
All right, all 7 of them then.
9 circles of marketing hell. This is, again, from your favorite website, HubSpot. Stuff you need to know. This is actually really funny. I am wondering if we can fair use this little guy and actually put up the little graphic that they had, because the story is really not – the article is really just a setup for this big graphic that they have.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which seems to me, when did they do this anyway? They did this January 17th, so just recently. It's very Halloween-y.
Yeah, I got that same impression.
You know, like you would think that they would kind of save this sort of thing, but
The emphasis on weenie.
Well, you found it. What did you like about it, Tom?
Well, I thought it would be a nice, part of our hot potato section of the show, just because, we're all about marketing, maintaining customers. And if your marketing is not allowing you to be able to do that in one form or another, then it's time to take a look at your marketing.
Well, we can go through each one of them. Let me just read down the whole list just so the listeners
please do
can get it. Number 1, and I'm not really sure if this is like the worst one is number 1 and the worst one is number 9. It's confusing how it's done. But the first one is creating ugly content, then being boring. Number 3, not monitoring social media. 4, bad automation. 5, bad targeting. 6, misleading messages. 7, copyright infringement. 8, email spamming. And number 9, interruptive marketing. Interesting, that last one. But creating ugly content, I think that is probably the number 1 sin of radio.
Really?
People, I think, make really, really, really bad radio commercials. like hire their like best friend or their buddy or their aunt or their nephew or whatever to do the voiceover who's not a professional, and it just is ugly. Much of this can be seen in, say, car commercials where like the family that owns the dealership doesn't want to have something professionally produced, so they get up there with their little, Canon things and they make some kind of car commercial. Like, what?
You can tell they shot it last weekend because the snow's on the ground and they're standing there shivering.
But are you talking radio or are you talking TV? Because I'm hearing and seeing visuals in my head when you describe what you're discussing.
Kind of, I'm more focused on the radio because that's my discipline. You have both disciplines, but
well, what do you define as ugly? What define ugly for me, Tommy? You define it because that's your world.
Something. I would define Bob's Discount Furniture. I hope you're not looking for them to be a sponsor anytime soon, Ron. But their commercials as ugly. But in their ugliness, there is a level of effectiveness that is overwhelming. So what is ugly to one and ineffective to one could be, spot on for another.
And that's more sort of purposefully homespun, sort of.
No doubt about it.
So
it's a
was
conscious.
One of your best non-answer answers I've ever heard.
Thank you.
That was really good. Lordy.
But what are you going to do about the deficit? Well, I think we need to focus on children.
Yes. Brian, give me a synonym for ugly.
Well, let me give you an example of what would be ugly. So they have this in radio. We have this thing called the announcer's test, which dates back to the 1920s, and it's supposed to be like how someone reads it.
Okay.
All right. So ugly would be good or adequate. I'm not going to tap myself in the back, but would be this. Penelope Chumley raised her azure eyes from the crab scenario. She meandered among the congeries of her memoirs. There was the kinetic Algernon, a caloric artificer of icons and triptychs who wanted to write a trilogy. So that's adequate. A bad commercial would be Penelope Chumley raised her azure eyes from the crab scenario. She meandered among the congeries of her memoirs. There was the kinetic Algernon, a caloric artificer of icons and triptychs. Now, I'm not really changing my voice too much. I'm kind of speaking a little more naturally.
Oh, dramatic change.
But that's the difference between what a normal person is going to say. Penelope Chumley raised her azure eyes from the crab scenario. This is my normal speaking voice. I'm not doing anything to my voice. I talk like this all the time. But when I'm reading something for broadcast, this would be really weird.
Well, it's funny because I look at Circle, fatal flaw number 1, creating ugly content, and number 2, being boring. To me, they are synonymous. I think if content is boring, it's ugly. The purpose of marketing is to appeal to, attract, interrupt in a positive way and create interest. So if you're boring, which your second delivery voice was boring, your first delivery voice a little less boring, mostly because the content was boring.
Poor Penelope.
Yeah, not the delivery, but I frankly didn't care about Penelope's azure eyes.
See, but I think that ugly can also be like something that's trying not to be boring and goes like way to the extreme, and like you look at it and you say, I don't even know what I'm looking at. I'm not going to label this boring, manic, crazy, all over the place.
All right, good point.
I could see that, but that wouldn't be necessarily boring. Sure might be ugly. That's my thought.
Well, let's go back to Bob's. Do you find their commercials to be ugly and boring, Ken?
I find Bob's commercials to be irritating.
Okay.
They irritate me.
So it doesn't work its way to ugly and boring. You can't get past the irritation factor.
Yeah, I don't have a positive attribute to give to his commercials.
So you would likely refer to someone to Bob's Discount Furniture who, look, if you don't have a lot of money to spend, I don't know, go down to that Bob's guy and see what he has.
Yeah, I would refer somebody to Bob's Discount Furniture if they're on a budget.
Yeah.
And with a disclaimer, ignore the commercials. He's got C plus B minus merchandise at very discounted prices.
Well,
Okay.
let me ask you a question to both of you. Have either one of you ever crossed the threshold to Bob's store?
Yeah.
Okay. And is that your experience once you've been in there?
I even bought a chair from Bob's.
Did you? Okay.
I'm into my 3rd year with it, and it's fraying around the edges. It doesn't sit well anymore. I mean, it's anything that you buy at a discount. If you, the quality is not there.
I would say the store itself reminds me of lipstick on a pig. You know, they try real hard to make it very nice and elegant, and they even put, like fountains inside some of the store.
The fountains.
And that's, you know what, good. I'm glad you're trying. Here's the end result. My experience has been the same as yours. I've bought, I don't know, a handful of things. I don't really know. I know I bought a chair and maybe some couches or whatever. Yeah, not the best quality.
No.
It's
not the worst in the world, but
it's not the worst.
best.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's just fine. It's not, you're not going to be handing this down to your kids. When you are ready to get rid of it, you're going to put it in the dumpster.
You walk to Walmart, you don't expect the highest quality merchandise, whether it's you can get some brand names in there at good prices, but if you went in to buy a golf shirt at Walmart and spent $12.99, it's not the best looking shirt. It doesn't fit the best, but you can go out and play the local muni in it and do just fine.
Yeah.
Functional.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's what it is. It's functional at a fair price. At a fair price. He doesn't. I mean, it's not really that discounted. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I
not
don't
like
think
you
so
walk
either.
in there with like $200 and you're golden, but a fair price.
And I think the thing about this article on the 9 circles of marketing hell, it's basic stuff. It really is get your message right, get your audience targeted well, engage them, don't interrupt them.
Hey, do you have a?
But it's amazing to me, and I'm sorry to interrupt, Brian, but I will anyway. It's amazing to me, even though it is basic, how many people cross the line. And, you talked about radio, we talked about TV, but another industry that is abused and used time in and time out is the billboard industry. Talk about ugly presentations on the billboards.
Highway billboards?
What's that? Mostly high, but even secondary road billboards.
Okay.
I mean, the industry itself says approximately 7 words. You shouldn't exceed 7 words before you are absolutely going to lose, the opportunity to communicate anything to people that are driving by. And that rule alone is broken probably 75% of the time.
And you know what? Like the dream of a marketer, I think, is to put together a campaign that is like wonderfully simple, direct, to the point, bam. Yep. Highway billboard signs is a great medium for that. I don't know. I have to imagine it's the owners of the business getting involved in the creative process where they're not letting the professionals do it. Because I have to imagine those guys who sell those things and their creative departments, they are dying to do good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think the best
3 words. That's the most you should probably do.
Yep.
The best aspiration a marketer can hope for in distilling the message is to get it down to 1 word.
Yeah.
If you can get 1 word, like the word search.
Yeah.
Google.
Well, one of my favorites was the Mama Bell Company before it was, chopped up into a million different things. Their highway billboard sign said one thing: dial tone.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant. I love it. I know what that is. I get it.
Yep.
It's real.
I know
love
who
it.
you are. Thank you very much.
Yeah. That's our mission statement.
Mm-hmm.
Dial tone. It's great. It's very exacting. Let's go into another one. Not monitoring social media. Ken, do you have a does Peer-to-Peer Advisors have a Twitter handle?
No.
These are actually really funny because not only do they say about not monitoring social media is one of the circles of hell of marketing, but then they have what your punishment can be. And your punishment for not monitoring social media is you have to personally respond to every angry customer complaint that comes through social media for every brand in the entire world forever. That's your punishment.
I have not heard one positive or negative on Twitter with regard to peer-to-peer.
That's because you're not looking.
No, I have alert systems set up to let me know.
Oh, these are alert systems. So you're monitoring social media that you don't use.
Correct.
Interesting. What is the alert system that you use? That's interesting.
Google Alerts.
Oh, Google Alerts will say, hey, do you want us to monitor Twitter for you?
Google Alerts will tell me when the name peer-to-peer advisors or a variation of it comes up anytime online.
That's cool. I like that. I used to do that for keeping track of news, but then it's just sort of, I was getting too many news articles because everybody and their brother is writing a blog these days.
Yes, they are.
So it's like, all right, this has become less helpful. Bad automation. What did you think of this, Tommy?
That one a little bit confused me because I wasn't quite sure exactly what it was that they were saying. What is bad automation?
So every time a message is sent automatically to the wrong recipient via email or social media or mobile devices or whatever, your punishment will be Lou Bega's Mambo No. 5 will play while someone flicks you in the ear.
Yeah, I think that's unfair. I thought Bega did a good job with that song.
But would you want to hear it over?
No, not over and over.
No.
Once is enough.
It's really one of those oops moments where you're not paying attention. I've done it. I did it just the other day. I can't remember. I think I was on Google Plus, hanging out with some folks. But it was one of those little chat things, and I said one thing to another person. I was like, no, that's supposed to go over here. Then you got to go back and apologize. Sorry, that wasn't meant for you.
So that would be their definition of bad automation.
Yeah, but well, I don't know if that's their definition, but bad automation is most often traced back to human error.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I mean, for me, the one example, I opened up a FeedBlitz account so I could consolidate push feeds of blog entries and other things that I do. And the first time around, I forgot to set the settings on delivery. So the damn thing's going out, same notification, same message on a daily basis, until by the third day I started getting a whole bunch of emails saying, enough. And then I went in and switched it.
Got it.
So, human error.
Right, there you go. So that would be an example of bad automation.
Run amok.
Got it.
bad targeting. I see this constantly, especially when they say it's not really bad targeting, but let's just say female products during the Super Bowl. Really? Really? All you're doing is pissing off every guy that's watching that.
There's a lot of women, though.
I know. There's a lot of women that watch the Super Bowl. Yeah, great. You know what? More men are watching the Super Bowl, and we don't want to see those kind of things.
Now, I had a client in my office today that, to me, would be the definition of bad targeting last year. And mind you, this is a local business, and I think it really connects with those that are tuning in and watching us this evening. He spent approximately $30,000 on marketing last year and received 12 calls that totaled $30,000 and ended up closing 2 pieces of business out of that.
This wasn't with you in Illinois.
No, this was before he came to us.
Okay. And
he was a poster child for bad targeting. His target is, say anywhere from 200,000 plus household incomes. He wants to get to women that are 35 to 45 years old. Most of them are stay-at-home moms that are taking the yoga class and maybe have an at-home business that they're occupying, 20% of their time. But these are affluent homes, and he was advertising in Direct Advantage and the Clipper coupon magazine.
Oh
my gosh, is right. But it was a client that was doing it on his own, somewhat run amok, and is coming back and saying, "How come I didn't get any results?" And
he's the best client in the world, though, because he knows who his target is. The worst one is bad targeting when you don't know who you want to target.
Amen.
Just sort of the blasting out or not targeting, I guess is really what that would be.
But to me, that was a definition of, simply bad targeting. There it is. And there's lots and lots of people out there that are just, and remember Chris Lytle, Brian? He was a radio sales trainer. It was around for a long time, especially in the 80s and the early 90s. So you may not remember him. But he had a phrase that I absolutely loved, and that was, "Don't spray and pray."
Exactly.
And that's what a lot of people do. They spray their advertising dollars around and pray that something is going to work.
What's always curious to me is you talk to a lot of small business owners and you ask them, in a good year, how many new clients do you need? Average sale, assuming whatever your average sale dollar is. In a professional services firm, most of them will probably say anywhere between 4 and 10 makes it a good year.
Mm-hmm.
And you sit and you think about that. That's not a lot of bigger audience to target. If your message is strong and you have a good value and you need 8 new clients a year, heck, all you need to do is identify probably somewhere between 40 and 60 prospects. And you should be able to close the deals.
And that would be just the opposite of spraying and praying.
Exactly.
That's laser beam marketing.
That has to be. And you just ignore everybody else and you basically become a one-to-one marketer.
I wonder if that's because they're afraid of, when you do that sort of laser-like or sniper kind of thing, marketing, if you miss, it's on you. Where if it's you spray and pray, oh, this marketing stuff doesn't work. These advertising guys, I don't know what they're talking about.
A lot of truth in that.
I think it could be about that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Really good point.
Yeah.
Misleading messages. Let me tell you about my I don't know why we're picking on car dealers. But the guy who says, I just want to get you a car loan, which really should be what his phrase is. He actually says, I just want to get you a loan. But it sounds, the way they say it, it's like ALONE. Like, I just want to get you in the back alone with you and me. And it's freaky.
That's
like,
just creepy.
Yeah. Anyway, so this guy, so here's the bad thing about misleading messages. I just want to get you a loan. No, you don't just want to get me a loan. You need me to get a loan. You want the bad credit person so you can gouge them like crazy on interest. It is absolutely disgusting and immoral what that car dealer, I think it's Bob's of Milford, does. And I don't even care if he sues us. Like, bring it on, dude, because you are a crook. Like, you are taking from people who absolutely can afford it the least. And I really don't like that. But that's a great example of a misleading message. I don't know what other misleading messages are there?
I'm going to throw my 2 cents in on that, and I agree that there's a percentage of the individuals that are being targeted that are being used and abused. But in this day and age of people that have gone through a serious divorce, got recently laid off, dual household incomes, where one of the people was laid off and their credit has been impoverished because of circumstances beyond their control. Sometimes guys like Bob's and other places similar to that serve a societal purpose, as far as I'm concerned.
I agree, but they don't need to do 25% car loans.
Right.
Like, really? All right. You know what? The average rate is probably somewhere in like 5 to 6%. Okay, charge them 10. That way you cover your liability, if you have a bad debt on your hand. 25%, it's like, you're not even taking a risk at that point. The guy pays one payment, you're home free.
Someone I know very well, I will not mention a name, just because chose to buy a car and is paying without any help, without any co-signing, blah, 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 blah. Is paying 28%.
I mean, that's criminal. That's criminal. You should tell me who this person is. I will give them the money for the car. That's ridiculous.
Insane.
That's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. It is. I mean, when I found out, it was like, no, you've got to be kidding me. You will never dig your way out from under that loan.
That's ridiculous.
It is.
I mean,
so those kinds of sharks are out there, and yes, it is criminal. I could not agree with you more. But you have people that will do anything to get the loan. What about places like Aaron's that, they know that it's only rent to purchase, and by the time all is said and done, you'd be lucky if you're breaking away at 28% on buying that couch or that big screen TV.
Oh, this is like the rent-to-own places?
Exactly, man.
Yeah, I never understood how those actually stayed in business. Like, did the people not, get it after a little while? I can see the sort of allure of, whoa, 50-inch plasma TV in my house for $28 a month. Yeah, okay, but it's $28 a month for 30 years.
Right, the rest of your life.
So, but I can see the initial thing, but haven't people gotten hip to that game yet? Or?
It appears not, because places like that are all over.
Or the 0% interest loan, but then we jack up the MSRP by 30%. Like, oh, wow, thanks for the deal.
Right.
Copyright infringement, number 7. Clearly, just don't do, come up with original content.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's actually hard because we're bombarded with advertise in messages. I will give people this. Sometimes it's hard to know if that idea that popped in your head, have I seen that before, or did I just come up with that? I don't actually know. So I give you a little credit there. Email spamming, I think pretty much that. I mean, that's certainly not good to do. But most of us have a Gmail or a Yahoo or some kind of filtering system that takes care of a lot of that. I don't know. Do you guys get a lot of email spam these days?
I'm not.
I mean, I'm sure I get
not nearly as much as I used to be.
I still see more than I would prefer.
Yeah.
But it goes back to it, and I don't know if you read the book or you just inadvertently referenced it, The One-to-One Future.
Oh, yeah. Peppers and Rogers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great book, right?
Yeah.
It was a great book. I think in this day and age, and a lot of people, because they're moving so fast, don't take the time to ask permission. I'd like to add you to my email list.
Opt in.
Yes, exactly. Giving them the chance. And this way they have the right to be able to say yes or no, thank you.
Yeah.
I agree. The last one I love is interruptive marketing. Interruptive marketing is, say you're watching television and it's a very lovely show and you're enjoying your show, and then the car commercial, I don't know why, there we go again with the car commercial. Then the car commercial comes on and it's like 4 times the volume of what the show is.
That's supposed to change.
That is, I mean, there are different rules there, but it's tough to enforce that. But
they just
that's sort
passed
of interruptive marketing. Or if you are, what else? If you're walking down the street and all of a sudden it's, a bunch of guys come out and say, hey, can we tell you about our pamphlet with our really good, cruise ship that wants to take you on a great cruise for free, and all you have to do is listen to our timeshare thing? That would be interruptive marketing. Like, hey, oh.
Well, for me, interruptive marketing is signing up for an online newsletter and not being given the option to say no to marketing pieces or promotion pieces that they want to send out. Because I sign up for some things from some people, and boom, I end up getting anywhere from 1 to 5 emails a week promoting some product or some service that they're offering in addition to the newsletter. And that to me is interruptive.
And what I can understand is you could embed those in the content.
You should be able to.
I don't understand why.
Put the
all you're
banner
doing is hurting yourself because people are getting hip to it.
I agree.
That's what I think. Well, that was kind of a fun discussion. Facebook's graph search is up here. That took way longer than we had anticipated. But Facebook's graph search, have you played around with this yet?
I have not.
It has not rolled out to my account yet. It has rolled out to some people's account. Have you?
I have not.
So it hasn't rolled out here. But this is interesting that you can search sort of more casually as you would speak about your contacts on Facebook. Which one of my friends likes Italian food and going for bike rides? And then it will come up with a list. What's a little scary is that they can do that. You know what I mean?
I just don't get this. I'm sorry. I don't get why anyone would want a search engine on Facebook for Facebook data only.
Well, if you want to say, all right, you know what? I really, I got a few hours over the weekend. I really want to go for a bike ride. Who should I invite for my bike ride? Instead of going through the, 800 people or 800 friends that you have on Facebook, you can say, which one of my friends is, lives near me and enjoys bike riding?
Let me ask you, do you think that was the motivation behind the grand poobahs of Facebook? No, I don't think so, too.
I think it was for guys to find chicks to date. That's what I think. You think I'm right? I think that was for guys to find chicks to date.
I can't even begin to comment on that, but no, I think they're looking for ways to be able somewhere down the road to really monetize this. That's my sense.
How? I don't get the model.
I'm not sure yet either, but it just doesn't, unless they've run out of cool things to do, in their research and development department.
Think of it this way. You have competing search engines that give you access to global information. Everything that's out there is available to you.
Right.
Now you have a social network that is closed with privacy issues and limited amount of information shared on a person-by-person basis, varying degrees. Some they'll tell the world about what they ate for breakfast. Others, they'll stop in once a week to see what's going on. And they won't tell anything about themselves. And all they're doing is putting a search engine capability on that base of information. Where's the value? Why? If I want to take a bike ride with somebody, I know who my friends are that ride bikes. If I don't, shame on me. If I want to find out what Italian restaurant to go to in the neighborhood, I know who to talk to.
Yeah,
I don't need Facebook to figure out what restaurant to eat at. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me.
I mark my words, 6 months down the road, 2 years down the road, there will be a monetization of this search engine component.
There is an interesting thing that happened to us it was last week, actually, like on Thursday, I think. One of my friends, Michelle Lee, who's the evening anchor at a Fox station down in North Carolina, she and I were chatting back and forth. We were doing a little video conference with some other folks and just saying hello and talking about media stuff. And as it turns out, we never became friends on Facebook. We only subscribed to one another. And she had a buddy of ours in the studio with her while she was live. So she said, hey, everybody, take a screenshot for me and send me the thing. So I took a screenshot, just kind of cropped it out, and I was going to send it to her. And for some reason, I had Facebook open, so I typed in Michelle Lee and clicked send message, and it said, if you want to send Michelle Lee a message on Facebook, it'll cost you $100.
Pardon me?
$100. Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I've never seen that come
I
up
haven't
before.
either.
We have it's on my Facebook wall too. You can look at Michelle Lee's. She did a whole thing about it. Then she did a blog post about this, and like Facebook is contacting her, and some guy is all like irate, like, well, that's because you guys weren't friends. It doesn't always cost $100. But I mean, it's clearly like Facebook is just, they're dying for revenue anywhere, and they're testing this. They're testing this.
Wait a minute. Circle number 4, bad automation.
Yeah, bad automation. Yeah, that's an excellent example.
Good
of that.
segue, Ken.
This is a weird story. I don't know if you guys heard about this. CBS removes the Hopper from Best in Show award contest at CES. The CES is the Consumer Electronics Show. It's a very big show every year out in Las Vegas. And CNET, the website CNET that does a lot of blogging and reviews, reviewed all the things. CNET happens to be owned by CBS.
Okay.
CBS happens to have arrangements with DirecTV, and the Hopper happens to be made by Dish Network. Are we all seeing the conflict here? So CBS Corporate, the head of CBS Corporate, calls down to CNET writers and says, you need to eliminate the Hopper from running, since we're right now in a lawsuit against Dish TV and that box called the Hopper, because it can fast forward through commercials at 30 seconds a clip.
Really?
So they are. So we now, CBS proper is telling CNET that you're going to disqualify them from the CNET awards. Hopper's response was,
here it comes,
a full page New York Times ad and many other newspapers and magazines saying, Hopper voted best in show at CES asterisk. And then it goes on to explain, what's with the asterisk? We're glad you asked. We were awarded it, and then it was taken away from us because CBS proper knows we have a better product, blah, 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 which I think actually worked out better for the Hopper than did
absolutely
anything else that they would have gotten out of Best of Show.
So CBS is guilty in Circle 1, ugly content, and Circle 6, misleading messaging.
Yeah.
Again, good point. That's great.
It's fascinating.
Definitely fascinating.
All right, well, let's get into the the entrepreneurship discussion.
Lead the charge on this one, Ken, please.
Lead the charge.
It came about because I'm perusing articles online, and I see on a compilation site 2 articles right next to each other. One of them, to change a company, you need entrepreneurs, from Fast Company magazine. And this next article is 7 Things That Great Entrepreneurs Do from Inc. magazine. Something, all right, one, you got the 2 biggest competing entrepreneurial magazines, one on entrepreneurs, one on entrepreneurs, and I'm thinking, wait a minute. Other than the context, what's the difference? So I go through the articles, and truthfully, there isn't a lot of difference between an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur other than the context and the amount of freedom that an entrepreneur has to operate.
An entrepreneur, I don't know, though. Would you think an entrepreneur has maybe, he probably doesn't have a little bit more freedom.
No.
But it has a little bit more resources.
A lot more resources.
Guy Kiyosaki, who's one of my favorite business writers.
Love him. Yeah.
Wrote a blog article way back in 2006 called The Art of Entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And he incorporated a little bit into this in his book, what was that called? The Art of the Start.
Yeah.
Which was really about
Great title.
Getting funding
Mm-hmm.
for startups. Is it a fly in the studio? Is that what that is?
A little fly.
Or did you just suddenly turn?
No, just a very little fly.
Okay. He has a couple interesting ideas. Let me run these by you. Kill the cash cows. This is the only acceptable perspective for both entrepreneurs and upper management. Cash cows are wonderful, but they should be milked and killed, not sustained until, no pun intended, the cows come home. Truly brave companies understand that if they don't kill the cash cow, 2 guys in a garage will do it for them.
Yeah.
Macintosh killed Apple II. Do you think Apple would be around today if they tried to protect Apple II's cash cow ad infinitum?
Yeah. The cash cow has a shelf life of like a nanosecond. And you do milk it, but you constantly innovate on it. And that's where entrepreneurial thinking works. I agree. Kawasaki got it right on that one.
That's, I think, that the scariest one. There's a reboot your brain. Who cares about that?
What disturbed me, though, in the article and going through the one in Fast Company, most businesses look for entrepreneurs, but they look for them in the non-core competency areas of the business. Work the nonprofit sector. Make us more green. Make us sustainable. All important, but it's not core competencies. The entrepreneur isn't given the cash cow and said, kill this thing and get us a new cash cow that we can develop.
That's a really good point.
That to me is disturbing because I think the biggest obstacle for many, many large companies is the fact that they're large. The fact that they have little entrepreneurial thinking that goes on because most people are attempting to either protect themselves or build a fiefdom or build a kingdom or compete for limited resources or a whole bunch of other political stuff that occurs in big companies. And it's not the kind of environment where you can be wrong. And entrepreneurism is all about being wrong. Entrepreneurism isn't about the smartest idea that's successful coming out of the gate. It's about being wrong a whole bunch of times until you get it right.
That's, again, good articulation.
Yeah, knowing when you're wrong and staying. That's enough of that. Change course.
Yeah, I can't remember. I don't know if this was in this article or one of the other ones you posted, but there was one about, the cycle of a product is, in a large company, is, you come up with a couple ideas and you have a little focus group, and then you have a couple more ideas, and it kind of spawns another little thing. Then you do a little more focus group, and then you collect more data. Then you do some market research, and then you do blah, 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 and this whole like laundry list of stuff, and finally you ship.
Big company think.
And, the entrepreneur is supposed to think, this is a really neat idea, and I have faith that I think others will do it. Let me get something out there as quickly as I can.
Yeah.
And then the world will tell me what it is.
And today,
because I have no problem separating my own self-worth with that of the product. And I'm just, I think this is a good idea. What do you guys think? And if it comes back at me, I'll just take that lesson.
And is it that very essence that you just did a great job describing that attracts the entrepreneur? It's that because in my experiences, and lots of people I've spoken to over the years, it's one of the hardest things to find.
An entrepreneur?
Yes.
Well, you have to understand why too. Is that we all have we have kids to feed.
Well,
It's easy for the guy who's 40 years old, doesn't have a family, and he can take a little bit more risk because if he loses his job, he knows that he just has to start for himself again. If you lose your job and you have a wife and kids to support, it's not worth the risk.
But that's a cultural thing, and that's the reason entrepreneurs are hard to find.
Yeah.
And it's mostly because they got, I'll say it in a nice way, they have very poor leadership.
Well, that's why I'm saying what Brian just did, he articulated the whole passion of the entrepreneur, seeing the vision, connecting to it. And part of that is it's almost cult-like when you meet someone like that and you pick up that energy from them. You want to be a part of it. You may not be willing to take the risk. You may not be willing to do all the things that the brazen entrepreneur is willing to do. But if it is an energy that I want to be a part of, then you're going to bring me in that door.
You want to read a great book on entrepreneurship? Pick up Skunk Works by Ben Rich.
Cool title.
It is all about the product development division arm, Skunk Works of McDonnell Douglas,
Right.
and the development of the stealth fighter.
Huh.
And I mean, just unbelievable the amount of freedom these folks and engineers and designers had. And that's where the leadership comes in. If you want entrepreneurship, you have to give whoever is deemed the entrepreneurial world in your business the freedom to be an entrepreneur, the freedom to make mistakes, the freedom to sit there and say, I've got a $1 million budget, and I'm going to take 10% of that or $100,000 on this product launch because I think this is worth it, and go. And not worry about the focus groups and not worry about the market research, but say, all right, somebody, give me money for this. Does this work? And if they give you money for it, tell me why. What did you like about it? What do I have to change to make you give me more? And you do it. That's what entrepreneurs do. They figure out the product as they go along, as you accurately described earlier, Brian. They don't sit on market studies.
Right.
Doesn't work.
Hire infected people. Kiyosaki says.
Infected with what?
That's the drink the Kool-Aid sort of thing. He harkens back to how the heck did he ever get a job at Apple? His last job before Apple was schlepping jewelry.
Yeah.
But he had a passion for it, and that's why they hired him, which is really kind of cool.
Oh, infected with a passion.
Right.
Got
This is an interesting one. He said, put the company first. Here's your first dose of reality. Entrepreneurs must put the company first, not themselves.
Mm-hmm.
If you put yourself first, then quit, raise capital, and start your own company.
You got it.
As long as you're an employee, you have to do what's right for the company. Admittedly, many of the people that work in the company are not going to want you to kill the cash cow, but they just don't get it. You're going to have to do what's right for the company, and that may be killing the cash cow. You can't have it both ways. The security of existing employment and all the ego-boosting riches of entrepreneurship, you can't have both of those. So at the end of the day, you have to deal with the bozo that stood in your way for so many years, might get a lot of the credit for what you did, but you have to put the company first. Is it still good for the company? If this guy picks up a little accolades and whatever, forget it. Who cares? Good for him. Knock himself out.
What I really liked about the two articles juxtaposed against each other, think about an entrepreneur as I read the following quick things to you. One, they all have a process. They trust their gut. They have a passion for what they do. They're unusually quick on the uptake. They're born problem solvers. They've got something to prove, and they work their tails off.
Yeah.
Those are the characteristics that make great entrepreneurs. That's the article from Inc.
Yeah. And what's interesting is I find...
So why don't they cross the line? I'm sorry again, Brian. Why doesn't that entrepreneur then say, the heck with him. I'm doing this. I'm doing it. I'm doing it on my own.
Freedom culturally and from a leadership point of view to be able to do it. Entrepreneurism works if you have brave leadership. It does not work if you don't.
So without that brave leadership involved, does that entrepreneur finally say, enough of this, I'm going to go on my own? I'm going to...
Either that or they get bitter.
Okay.
I think. I mean, they become frustrated. Their talents are not used to the best of their ability. They're limited in the contribution they can make to the company.
And I got to tell you, it's scary leaving a steady paycheck.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean,
We do.
not that I actually have a steady paycheck, but I mean, I do, but you know.
Oh, you have a full cash business, don't you?
Yeah. I'm telling you, that lemonade stand.
You know, maybe
Brilliant.
it's a show down the road because I know the clock is ticking here, but it would be really interesting to explore the whole cash cow thing. And the reason I say that is because I'm aware of some businesses that have a location or two that would be characterized as their cash cow.
Mm-hmm.
So that whole philosophy of killing the cash cow when it has been, you know, a flagship location maintains that status in the organization, in the chain of stores. How does that work there?
I want to have that conversation, and instead of killing it, I want to reinvent it.
Okay, I like that.
We could certainly do that. I wanted to say one more thing here, just because it was funny. But, you know, you think of like Skunkworks that has, you know, held on for many, 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 many years and has really become its own sort of entity. Kiyosaki says that if you're an entrepreneur and you've developed this little team to work on your idea or whatever it is, when you're done, you have to dismantle the team.
He's right.
You can't stay together because then all of a sudden there's politicking within the team. Look what these guys did. I want to get over there with them. No, you got to get rid of it.
Everything's virtual.
Yeah, that is, I think, a really, really that's, you know, ties in a little bit. Put the company first.
Yeah,
because you know you don't want this super duper special division, which I don't know. Maybe this works for, you know, defense helicopters and planes with Skunkworks, but they certainly didn't dismantle Skunkworks when it was done.
No, they just kept reinventing it and putting new blood in.
Yeah, which is probably kind of what you have to do.
Yeah.
All right.
This was fun.
Definitely.
You know, it always is, as it turns out. We want to thank you guys for joining us very much. We can't do the show without you or our sponsors. Gateway Financial Partners, the accounting firm of Budwitz & Meyer, Jack, Deepwater Seafood of Avon, and CentralCTDental.com. Very special thanks to Evan Richards in the chat room moderator. We're closing up shop for this week, but we will be back next Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern when we will once again be open for business.
Cheers.